Let's now talk about the new keyword. Now that you know more about classes and their constructors, let's take a closer look at the new operator. So remember, this is how we can use the new followed by a class name and supply the list of arguments. Um, let's see what this one line does. The new operator calls the constructor and returns a reference to the newly created object, which is assigned to object name that is specified on the left hand side. If a class does not define its own constructor, new will call the default constructor supplied by Java. So even though if you don't have a constructor, there is an implicit Java constructor available. So next, let's see this keyword. This keyword is an implicit argument that refers to the object on which the method is called. This keyword is useful for making it clear that you are referring to an instance variable in case there is a local variable under the same name. So here's an example. So we have a method called fuel needed that receives one parameter that is called distance, and then what this will calculate and return is the fuel needed to travel the distance amount as distance divided by this.mpg. So this means that whichever object we're calling will be replaced. So this basically refers to the instance variable mpg. Distance here refers to the local variable distance. So let's see let's try this in the vehicle class. So we have remember last time we work on this, we set up our setter and getter methods, and since they're too short, they can fit in a single line. So that's what I did I fit them in a single line. So yes, our next method is will return a double or integer. Let's use double fuel needed for an integer distance. Okay, so I'm going to return distance divided by this.mpg, which means this refers to this mpg that belongs to the object that is calling this function. So since the return type is double, so I do want to make sure that I cast at least one of those variables to double so we don't get an error here. Okay, so right, so everything else should work just fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to test this. I'm going to create an integer distance, and let's say I want to travel 370 miles, and then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to call a minivan or car. Let's say car dot fuel needed for distance. Okay, so let's try this. I can say Java C vehicle demo 5 that Java looks good. Java vehicle demo. Okay, so looks like we have one problem. That is, I need number 5. There we go. So now this is the amount of fuel. This is the number of gallons that I need to travel 370 miles. Okay, so we can go ahead and apply the same mentality to any other variables that we called within our vehicle class as this versus not. So a good example could be seats. Like in the constructor, you can say this dot seats and this dot fuel and this dot mpg. It just makes it very clear that this seats belongs to the object. Okay, what else we can do? Notice here we can call this dot fuel cap times this dot mpg. We can also do this. Say the setter method takes a parameter called s. But like what I can do is I can call this dot seed. I can change the name of this to seed as well. Seeds and equal to seeds. Notice that, let's hit enter so we can see this clearly. Notice that this seeds refers to the instance variable seeds, and the one that doesn't have this specifier is basically belongs to this method, so it's very local to this method. So if it's not too confusing, you can go ahead and change this as well to sets fuel cap mpg, like this one, mpg, and then this mpg is equal to mpg. Once again, basically this one refers to the local variable mpg, and this one refers to the object variable or the instance variable mpg.